Thanks to the support as a channel member, Ben Renwick. Oh, boys and girls, we could finally be almost there. We are one win away from Wembley. Hello and welcome to part 135 of Wembley to Wembley. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we might finally get to Wembley. Since you were last with me, this is what's been going on. Still very solid form. We've had a couple of iffy results. We got thumped by Man City. We got thumped by Chelsea. We expect to get thumped by teams like Manchester City and Chelsea. The important thing is we're not getting thumped by anybody else. This is what the Premier League table looks like. We're fifth in the league just after the halfway point of the season. Still in what theoretically would be a Champions League qualification spot. Again, a couple of points behind Wolves, who are in that fourth place spot. We are there or thereabouts where we need to be. The Champions League as well, also going very well. We're already qualified for the knockout rounds, and actually with 2 games to go, we are top of the Champions League, albeit one of those 2 games, well, both of the 2 games, one is against Paris Saint-Germain, the other is against Borussia Dortmund. So I don't expect us to finish top of that, but I think we've got a good shot of ending up in the top 8, which would be jolly good. But neither of them are the most exciting thing. The most exciting thing, said nobody ever, is the EFL Cup, because we are in the semi-final of the EFL Cup. We've already played the first leg, beating Bournemouth 3-0, and as you can see, we're about to play the second leg, where we just need to avoid losing 3-0. And we should be good. The January transfer window is open, so there is a little bit of business going on. The sad news is we've sold Musat. Musat decided that he wanted to leave. He wasn't getting enough game time. I couldn't promise him game time, so we agreed to let him go. He's gone to Roma for £8.25 million. To be fair, not bad, doubling our money on him after just a year in which he's only started 11 games, scored 6 goals, not averaged a particularly high rating. It's not as if he's a young up-and-comer. He's 24 years old. I actually think that's a pretty good piece of business, and we've used that money to reinvest in Laurent Tramoni, who's an 18-year-old French under-20 international. He's a right winger who can also play up front. Another one who's nice and quick, similar kind of profile to what we've got with Pep, what we had with Musat. We wanted another 18-year-old in because Simone Di Salvo, one of the 18-year-olds we brought in back in the summer, got in a hissy fit about lack of game time and insisted on going out for a loan, so he can no longer become homegrown at club. It's not that he'll necessarily not be any good for us. He might end up being a long-term superstar player for us. He still looks like a very good prospect, but with him not now being able to become homegrown at club, we needed another 18-year-old in, hence Tramoni. There is still more money knocking around as well, because the board gave us more spenses. I didn't even have to ask for it. They just gave me another £15 million to spend. So we've got more money to spend if we need it, but I'm tempted to save it for next gen day because we still want to focus on youngsters. And then the other piece of news before we get on with Bournemouth is that the African Cup of Nations is currently on, and we have more African players than I realised. Chima David, Belkacemi, Agume, Kibwana and Nguesen are all off playing international football, which means we are down to a skeleton squad, which managed to deal with Bournemouth in the first leg, but does mean we've got a potential banana leg as we try and book our first ever trip to Wembley. So this is the team for the second leg against Bournemouth. Remember, we are 3-0 up. It's Beswick in goal, a back four of Paulo Roberto. He's training to play there now. We haven't got any other left backs. So Nguesen's at the African Cup of Nations, and what's his face? Dean Martin is injured, so we don't have much of an option. Roberto's played there the last couple of matches. So Roberto at left back, Brewers, Fanimo and Castro making up the rest of the back four. Youngster Lee Leake comes in midfield to partner Kerslake. We're resting Christodoulou because he's shattered. We need to rest Christodoulou, or we're going to have to send him on holiday. And then it's a front four of Hermoso, Lambert and Pep with Williams in front of them. And Williams is actually in pretty good goal-scoring form. In his last 4 matches, has scored 5 goals, including 2 against Chelsea in that game that we lost. So he is starting to look like he's a pretty useful player for us. I think enjoying the fact that Musat has moved on. That's one less player in his way, especially because I think Pep is probably a winger now in my head. So behind Belkacemi, Williams is probably first reserve for that centre-forward position for us now. So if we get our team submitted, we just need to not lose by 3-0 or more. That's all it is. We're 3-0 up. Let's just book a spot at Wembley. It's all we've ever wanted, boys and girls. Wembley to Wembley. And we are underway in front of 23,000 people here at Bournemouth, which is less than we will be getting in our new stadium when it's eventually built. Only 18 months away from the new stadium being built. Now, don't panic, by the way. We're not just going to end the series if we get to Wembley and win the EFL Cup. We are definitely committed to playing a full season at the new stadium. I'd love to end with a Premier League win or an FA Cup win at Wembley or a Champions League win at Wembley. But regardless of whatever happens, we're definitely playing one season at the new Wembley Stadium. So this isn't what it might have been 4 or 5 seasons ago. This isn't win this and we're effectively done, which is pretty much what the criteria was for a long time before we had those couple of seasons of absolute madness where we've set ourselves up to potentially end with a big trophy, end as a big club, which would be absolutely lovely. It's 0-0 as we approach half-time, so still 3-0 on aggregate. We are looking pretty solid at the moment. Hermoso looks like he's picked up a knock right towards the end of that first half, so we're going to take him off. And we have got Renault on the bench, who's another one who is ideally being rested with Christodoulou, with Paranos, with Ansong. These boys have played a lot of football, and we're trying to ease them through a very busy January schedule. We're still in the FA Cup as well. We've still got 2 Champions League games to play this month, and we're doing it all without our African contingent, which is a challenge when there's 5 of them just all disappearing together. It's not something I really planned for, but it is something to potentially bear in mind with upcoming signings. Maybe 5 is enough African players for one squad, because it does really hurt you. I think it's every other season, isn't it? They disappear for basically all of January. So not ideal when that's the business end of this competition. It's Champions League, decision time, crunch time in the Champions League. There's a lot of league football played at this time of year. We don't really want to be losing 5, 6, 7, 8 key players, because that's problematic. Right, 20 minutes to go. It's still 0-0. We are looking good. Ansong is going to come on. The youngster Leek, we can take him off. Kerslake can drop over that way, and Christodoulou can come on. Castro is tiring as well. We don't really have anyone who can come on for him, though, so he's just going to have to get tired, and he'll be fine. But Leek didn't let us down, which is a good sign. That was his debut, so that's promising. Williams getting in behind here. Williams couldn't get the shot away, but does keep hold of the ball. Pep now fires it in from just inside the penalty area, but he can't keep his shot down, and it remains 0-0 on aggregate. Sorry, 0-0 on the night, 3-0 on aggregate. How are you liking the numbers on our left-hand side, by the way? The left back with the number 4, the left wing with the number 6. I bet you're loving them, aren't you? Absolutely, I'm loving them. I like a random squad number. I like an organic. I'm not one of these nerds who's going to go and give everybody a number in the 80s or 90s, like that American maniac who I play the network game with. That's a bit too try-hardy, a bit too forced. But when you get an organic, weird, random number, love that. And that's what we're getting. I mean, it's what we've got with Renault. It's what we're getting with a few of the boys in this squad. Right, we've got 2 more substitutions we can make. Roberto, he's shattered. Martin's going to have to come on and do 10 minutes and like it. Williams is going to come off as well. And Tramoni is going to come on and make his debut. We'll put him on the right-hand side. Pep can get a rare 10-minute run out up front. We'll get Tramoni in his actual preferred position, but he's getting everything that DeSalvo wanted. He's come straight in and getting some game time. I mean, if DeSalvo had just bidden his time a little bit, he could have been playing at left back rather than Roberto, but he decided he'd rather play for Swansea. So that's him no longer anywhere near as crucial to our future squad building, because he's not going to be homegrown at club the way these other guys will hopefully go on to be. But boys and girls, more important than any of that, I think we are now safe to say Wembley are going to Wembley. We're in the 96th minute and Renault is through on goal, put the cherry on top. Oh, he doesn't quite manage to do it. The keeper manages to push it over the crossbar, but there's no chance Bournemouth are scoring 3 goals now before the end of this match. Renault with the corner, looking for Fanimo, whose header is very well saved by the Bournemouth goalkeeper. I don't know why they're bothering to continue. I don't know why the ref's bothering with 7 minutes here. Seems a little bit unnecessary. Bournemouth haven't really showed any attacking intent across the two legs. They certainly don't deserve to be going to Wembley. We do, and that's where we're going. Wembley are off to Wembley. Of course, that will be in the next episode. I am giddy. This is my giddy face. I just need to confirm that is actually happening. EFL Cup final is at Wembley. We don't know who we're playing yet, but I'm delighted. Right, I'll play Southampton off camera, and we will still play PSG in this episode as originally planned, because that's quite a big game, isn't it? Well, we beat Southampton 2-1, but unfortunately brought Dean Martin back into the team too early and have broken him again. I think we might actually be doing some serious damage to his ankle at this point. He pulled his ankle ligaments on the 3rd of January. We rushed him back. He's now twisted the same ankle, I think. Yep. We're going to break that ankle. But he is now completely out for this game, which means, because it's Champions League, we don't have Roberto to play there either. We're going to play Shane O'Brien at left back. Who's Shane O'Brien, I hear you cry? We signed him on a free transfer from Arsenal, I think at the same time as Christodoulou. Is that the same summer That is the same summer Christodoulou joined us from Arsenal. So he's Christodoulou's childhood teammate. What I do want to do is adjust some of these instructions, because we probably don't need him playing as a complete wing back. So let's just shuffle some of these things around. What we've also been able to do is register the players for the Champions League who weren't registered previously by taking out the likes of Roberto. Actually removed the youngsters this time. So Castro is now in, so he gets to play, which I guess is a positive, with Vaughan still injured, or else we'd have no fullbacks at all. But this is the team for Paris Saint-Germain. It's Beswick in goal, the youngster O'Brien at left back, Brewers, Fanamo and Castro the rest of the back four, Cotton and Christodoulou in midfield, Renault, Ansong and Paranos behind Williams up front. Williams, who is continuing to score. He scored again in the league. He is now a 4-star current ability Premier League striker. So he might end up keeping this starting spot up front even after everybody is back from international duty, because he is really relishing the role, blossoming in the role. And with him being homegrown in nation, that's quite handy with the massive foreign contingent that we've brought into Wembley over the last few years. Having a few first teamers who are homegrown in nation means that at least these squad selection problems, squad registration problems shouldn't get any worse than they already are with having just the one homegrown at club player. Although, to be fair, O'Brien becomes homegrown at club in just a couple of months. I don't really know when they came in the same summer. I don't know how Christodoulou is already homegrown at club and O'Brien's still 130 days away, unless O'Brien was actually the following summer, and I can't compare two numbers and decide whether they're the same or not, which might be what you've just seen happen on a video. There's every chance that's what you've just witnessed. Brewers has given away a penalty. This guy does not like to play well on camera, does he? Is he going to get sent off again? Because he's already given away a penalty. If he gets a second yellow card here, right, he does at least escape the red card this time. Beswick up against some guy for Paris Saint-Germain, and he went the right way, but just didn't extend his arms. What's he thinking there? Just stick your arms out. You're allowed to stick your arms out as the goalkeeper. He'd have extended his arms. He saves this. Look at him. Keeps his arms basically tucked into his body. We need to work on stretching that boy, but we are 1-0 down. I mean, ultimately, this game doesn't really matter. We're already qualified for the knockout rounds. We're already as good as in the top 8 as well. We've got Borussia Dortmund at home in our final game, which, based on some of the results we've got against some better teams than Borussia Dortmund, you would expect us to do quite well in, although I guess it does depend on whether we've got the African boys back. Because without them, it does become a lot more challenging. And the fact we're having to play O'Brien in a game like this, it's his first ever game of professional football, and it's away against Paris Saint-Germain. They don't come much tougher than that. So maybe we should have just played somebody out of position there. I mean, we've got Agume on the bench. We could have just played him. I mean, he's never played left back, but I don't know. What do you think? Down in the comments section, are we better playing someone who's an actual left back but has never played and isn't good enough, or someone who's good enough to play in the team but would be completely out of position in a role that he's not at all suited for? I think neither of them are ideal situations. We are actively working on a new left back at the moment, by the way. We should have him to show you in the next episode. He's one of those beautiful fullbacks who is natural at both left back and right back, but he is a left footer. So we'll prioritize him at left back, but he's basically going to be coming in, hopefully, as cover for both fullback positions, so we don't get ourselves in the pickle that we're in at the moment again anytime soon. And he's not African, he's Brazilian. So we shouldn't have him disappearing off at the same time as the rest of the African players do. Right, Renault plays it into Ansong. I thought the play had stopped there. Everything seemed to slow down. Ansong over the top for Paranos. Williams is there, and Williams scores again. That boy is in absurd goal-scoring form at the moment. He is loving getting a run of games as our starting centre-forward, and he's basically scoring at a goal a game. Since the African Cup of Nations started, he is benefiting from this enormously. I think we have a new hero. Obviously, if Musat hadn't forced a move, he might well have been starting as well. So it is a combination of factors that have allowed Williams to make this spot potentially his own. He could be our starting striker from now on. PSG immediately grab another goal to go back in the lead. They're just quite good, aren't they? Oh, that's a shame. Everything was going, so I don't want to see the replay. I'm also wary of going attacking here because we don't want to get absolutely smashed by them. I think I'd be fairly comfortable losing 2-1, 3-1. We've had a very good run in the Champions League this year. What we don't want to do is lose 6-1 and have that as a massive blow to morale that then affects us in the Premier League, because the Premier League is still more important. There's not a chance we're winning the Champions League this year, but we'd like to qualify for it again next year. So because of that, as a team not currently in the top 4 in the Premier League, our number one priority is domestic football, and the Champions League stuff is just a nice little bonus on top, a nice little money spinner if we have a run to the quarterfinal and then get knocked out by someone like Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid. It's a fun day out for everybody, isn't it? It's a nice experience for a young team that we could then use 2 or 3 years down the line to maybe have a proper push at winning this. Williams has scored again. He must be in contention for an England call-up at this point, just based on 3 weeks of football, because he is having the purple patch of his career. He starts the move on the halfway line, plays it out to Paranos, who previously had been our top scorer, but I think Williams is going to go past him. And Williams there at the near post to grab his second of the match. And now we've got a corner. It's going to be Renault. We know how dangerous we can be from these set pieces. Renault looking for Fanamo. Normally we'd like an in-swinger there. And Williams picks it up on the edge of the area, and it's cannoned off the crossbar. He very nearly completed a hat-trick in spectacular style. It's worth pointing out this guy's 24 years old and was released by Southampton, having never scored a goal for them. And I mean, he's not looked we've played him out on the right wing for most of his time with us, but this run of form that he's in at the moment, just a run of matches playing up front. Who knew that a guy with 16 acceleration, 16 pace and 13 finishing was a centre forward? Who knew? I should look at attributes a bit more often. He's everything I ever look for in a striker. Right, we've got some boys who can come off here. We'll bring Hermoso on the left-hand side. We're going to bring Lambert on in the middle there. O'Brien, I think we are going to take off and bring on a proper defender to play in his spot. I thought I changed all these roles. Did they automatically? You watched me change them, right? I did that on camera. Why did they switch back? Am I suddenly playing EAFC again? That's the kind of shenanigans I expect to happen in that. I don't really know what's happened there. But Meulemans is going to play at left back, even though he doesn't know how, but he can play right back. So you would think if you can play right back, you should be able to adapt to play left back. It shouldn't be that hard. Right, Christodoulou is tired. Kerslake can come on for him. And, Belkacemi is back. I'm going to pretend I knew that and hadn't just noticed him appear. I mean, Williams was always going to start anyway. But, yeah, I mean, I think he's my backup. Even if I didn't notice that he was back, because I thought all the Africans were still away. You know me, boys and girls. We quick pick that bench. I don't know who's on it. Oh, how many of the other if all the African players are back, do I even dare go and check? If Ungressen's back and we've played someone else at left back, I'm going to be cross with myself. No. Okay, the rest of them are still on international duty. That's all right then. God, can you imagine? That would have been... I would have been upset with myself. I think it's fair to say I would have been quite cross with myself if we'd have had our actual left back just sat there on the bench and I didn't notice. I'm right, we've made all our substitutions. I've got myself all in a kerfuffle now. Have I discarded all my changes? Did I mean to do that? I didn't make any changes. Oh, no, I'm confuddled. Right, let's go very attacking. Let's offer some encouragement. We are going to try and grab that equaliser now. I'm trying to confuse the match engine by just pressing lots of buttons. That's what's happening here. Brewers couldn't get contact with it, and it's now 4-2. And this is what we didn't want to happen. We didn't want to take a pasting. I think we go back to just attacking. We don't want to go very, very attacking because we don't want to let them have a fifth. We've been so good in the Champions League this season that it would be very upsetting to have one away game against one of the best teams in the world turn our season around morale-wise. That's not what we want. Right, Kerslake from midfield finds Cotton, back to Kerslake again, and he's giving the ball away, but Cotton ends up back with it anyway, plays it over the top for Pep. Pep takes it first time. It's a good save by the PSG keeper, and we have got an opportunity here from a set piece. It's going to be Lambert going across to take it. He is one of our best corner takers. If we can find Fanimo, this starts to look a lot more competitive again, but they've stuck a guy on him at the near post. That feels like cheating. That's the kind of antics I'm used to when I play against them rascals in the network game. I don't expect the AI to know to mark my tall player. That's not how this is supposed to work. But they figured it out, and it's very sad. I think, looking at the way the league table is shaping up, just a point against Dortmund might be enough for us to still finish top 8. So we're still doing okay. And I don't think it's not wrecked team cohesion. It's not wrecked. It's not team cohesion. We're looking at club atmosphere is still excellent. We were never expected to get anything out of that game. So we're fine. Right. The next episode is going to be that EFL Cup final and potentially a Champions League game if there's one nearby. If not, we'll pick a Premier League game. But tomorrow we're off to Wembley. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.